You know, we all talk about gut feelings, right? That little hunch, that quiet voice in your head. But what is it really? Is it some kind of magic? Or is it a powerful and maybe misunderstood part of our own biology? Well, today we are pulling back the curtain on the real science of intuition.
Come on, you know the feeling. You meet someone new and you just get a vibe from them. Or maybe you get this sudden, unshakable urge to take a different road home from work. It happens to all of us, and today we're going to find out exactly how it works.
So, to really wrap our heads around this, we're going to look at intuition through 3 different scientific lenses. First, we'll start with psychology, what's happening in the mind. Then we'll zoom in on the neuroscience, the actual hardware of the brain. And finally, we'll connect it all back to those physical feelings in our body. All right, so our journey starts in the mind. Because before intuition ever feels like a knot in your stomach, it's actually a specific and incredibly fast way of thinking.
A lot of this comes from the groundbreaking work of Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman. He basically figured out that our minds have 2 systems running at all times, kind of like 2 different operating systems on a computer. And this idea, it's called dual process theory, is really the foundation for understanding where our intuition comes from.
And this just lays it all out perfectly. System 2, that's your conscious mind. It's the one you're using to make a pro-con list or solve a math problem. It's slow, deliberate, and it takes a ton of effort. But System 1? That's your intuitive mind. It is lightning fast, totally automatic, and it works completely behind the scenes, unconsciously. It's how you can instantly recognize a friend's face in a huge crowd without even trying.
And here is the most important part. Intuition is not some random guess out of thin air. Not at all. It's your brain's System 1 doing a massive search of its database at an unbelievable speed. It takes what's happening right now and compares it to every single experience you've ever had. And when it finds a match, it sends you a signal, a feeling, long before your slow, conscious System 2 has even finished lacing up its boots.
Okay, so how does the mind actually pull this off? Let's move away from the abstract idea of systems and get into the physical hardware that makes it all happen, the brain itself. You see, modern neuroscience is showing us that our brains aren't just sitting there passively recording the world like a camera. Nope, they are constantly actively predicting what's going to happen next. This is a framework called predictive processing. And your intuition? It's basically your brain's alarm system going off saying, hey, my prediction for what should be happening, it doesn't quite match what's actually happening right now. And we can actually see where this stuff happens in the brain. Think of it like a team. You've got the insula, which reads all the signals from your body and turns them into feelings. You've got the amygdala, which is like the brain's smoke detector, always scanning for threats. And then you have the basal ganglia and the prefrontal cortex, which help automate patterns you've learned over time, creating that expert feeling where you just know something is right or wrong without having to think about it. It's a whole biological chain reaction. Now we get to connect all those brain signals back to that feeling we all know so well. I mean, why do we call it a gut feeling? Well, it turns out science has a pretty amazing answer for that. It's because of something called the gut-brain axis. Your digestive system, your gut, is literally lined with millions of neurons. So many, in fact, that scientists have nicknamed it the second brain. And these 2 brains, the one in your head and the one in your gut, are in constant 2-way communication. It's a superhighway of information. Now get ready for this. Over 90% of your body's serotonin, that's the key chemical that regulates your mood, it's not made in your brain. It's produced right there in your gut. So yeah, the health and state of your gut have a direct, powerful impact on your emotional state and the clarity of those intuitive signals you're getting. So that feeling of your stomach dropping or your chest getting tight, a neuroscientist named Antonio Damasio calls that a somatic marker. Think of it like a physical flag or a memo that your body sends you. It's physically tagging a situation based on a past emotional experience, basically screaming at you to pay attention.
Okay, this is all fascinating stuff, but here's where we get really practical. How do we know if that strong feeling is true intuition or if it's something else? How do we learn to separate the signal from all the noise?
Because let's be honest, this is the real challenge, isn't it? We all get these powerful internal feelings. But learning to tell the difference between a clear, true, intuitive hit and its very convincing imposters, like anxiety, that is the most important skill we can develop. This table is a game changer for figuring it out. Let's look at the quality. Real intuition usually feels calm, clear, like a quiet knowing. But anxiety, that feels urgent, loud, and chaotic. Now look at content. Intuition is informational.
It just gives you a piece of data, like turn left here. But anxiety tells you a whole story, a catastrophic narrative about all the horrible things that will happen if you don't turn left. And finally, look at action. True intuition empowers you to act. Anxiety often just paralyzes you with fear.
And of course, there are a couple of other imposters to watch out for. There's wishful thinking. That's when you create a feeling because you really want something to be true. And then there's superstition, which is when you're looking for external signs like a fortune cookie instead of listening to the signals coming from inside your own body.
I want you to just sit with this for a moment. Just let it sink in. This question makes us completely rethink everything we might have been told about being too sensitive. It's the pivot point, from seeing this as a problem to maybe seeing it as a power.
And that question, the idea of a system that's calibrated differently, not broken, that's the key to this final section. We're going to reframe this entire experience, not as some kind of malfunction, but as a finely tuned instrument.
So check this out. The old story versus the new one. The old story, a lot of us hear, is that we're broken, flawed, too sensitive. But the new, scientifically backed story is that you are simply attuned. You're not a broken radio, you're a high-definition receiver, picking up way more data than most people even realize is out there.
And this, right here, this is the core idea. That sensitivity you might have been told was a weakness, it's actually the very mechanism that makes your powerful intuition possible. It's not a bug. It is the most essential feature of your operating system. And when you start to see it that way, you realize this attunement is kind of a superpower. It's a primal survival tool that kept our ancestors safe from predators. It's the very thing that allows for deep connection and empathy, letting you really feel what other people are feeling. And it's often the source of incredible creativity and insight, helping you connect ideas that no one else sees.
So the goal isn't to try and numb yourself or turn the volume down on your sensitivity. Honestly, that's probably impossible, and it wouldn't even be good for you. The real work, the real skill, is learning how to listen, how to filter, and how to interpret the massive amount of information you are naturally taking in every single day. So, we've journeyed through the mind, the brain, and all the way down into the gut. We've seen that intuition is a real, measurable, biological process. It's not magic, it's a part of you. So the final question isn't whether you have it or not. The real question is, now that you know how it works, how are you going to choose to listen?